What is up, guys? Fadeaway82 coming at you with a weekly Rust update video. We're going to go ahead and get right into it. So right off the bat, two new melee weapons have been added into the game. One is a machete or a cleaver. This is what my character's holding right now. Looks like something that Jason Voorhees would have. Pretty badass, and you certainly don't want to see somebody swinging one of these your way. Hey man, friendly. Machete is not a default blueprint, so if you want to use this, you're not going to be able to use it right out of the gate. You're going to have to find the blueprint or research it at a research table. In terms of the cost of it, it's going to run you 100 wood and 75 metal fragments. Beyond being an effective melee weapon, it also can be used to harvest resources. So if you go ahead and start hacking a tree with it, you're going to consistently get 15 wood out of that tree. So it's something that does work well for that also. It does go down in terms of durability if you're using it on trees, so it's not meant for that to be its primary purpose, but in a pinch, it is a fairly good resource gatherer. And the other new melee weapon added into the game is an absolutely badass looking sword called a salvage sword. It's a two-handed wrench that has been fashioned down, filed down into a blade, and it's badass looking. The art on this is absolutely stunning, and it's my favorite melee weapon to date. We'll get into some specifics on it in a minute, but go ahead and take a look at the graphic. Again, this is not a default blueprint, so you're going to have to go ahead and find it on your own. It can also be used to hit trees if you want, but it's only going to yield you about 5 wood per swing as opposed to the 15 you were getting with a machete, and it's pretty awesome. In terms of damage, the sword is the clear winner. It does a consistent 50 damage to body shots on naked players, and if you hit somebody in the head, it's an insta-kill. The machete, in comparison, does about 30% damage when it hit to the body of a naked player, and it does about 70 to 75% damage when the player is hit in the head. Both weapons do affect bleeding on the players when they're hit, so the machete is about a 25% bleed ratio, and the sword is about a consistent 44% or more in terms of bleeding. What you want to note is the machete is much faster and does have a greater reach than the sword. So even though the machete does a little bit less damage, it swings faster so you can land more shots, and its range is a little bit better than the sword. There's been some changes to landmines in this week's iteration of Rust. They place the same as they did before, but they now stack differently. So instead of taking up an individual spot in your inventory, they now stack in stacks of 5. So when you go ahead and place them, it'll be the same, but you can carry more of them with you and lay the minefields out more efficiently. In addition, once you put them down, there's a pressure plate when a player steps on it, and you actually have a chance of disarming the landmine. And when a player steps on a landmine in this iteration, there's an audible noise that's made indicating that the player's on the landmine. Another player then can go up and disarm that landmine by hitting the E key to use it. If it's successful, the player will then reacquire that landmine. It can then be reused. There is, however, a chance that it won't work and the landmine will detonate. And the survey charges have changed a little bit in this week's iteration of Rust. They now have their own distinct icon. It looks awesome, and the way that they function is a little bit different. So the distance of them is a little bit greater, and they're a little more predictable where they land. They tend to roll a bit less. It's something that you want to be aware of. The quarries are going to become a much larger fixture in Rust in the future, so you want to be aware of how these work and how to place them properly. There have been some performance increases in this week's patch. Most notably, the decal system has changed. So in terms of the gunfights, you guys may have noticed in previous iterations, it tend to bog down a bit, and large scale fights are really hard to participate in and even harder to record. So that's why there haven't been a ton of raid cams in the past couple weeks. Hopefully that's been changed, and the way that the bullets work now is going to be a way where when they start firing, it's not going to lag down as much as it used to. Alright guys, that is it for this week's update in terms of the items. Now, let's get into the big secret. So the elephant in the room this week is why the development was shrouded in mystery. Usually the developers are very open and very transparent with what's going on. The commits on the Twitter page have been very vague this week, and we knew some melee weapons were coming out, but we didn't know what else. Things were shrouded in mystery, and there's a secret that's yet to be revealed. I'm going to go ahead and reveal it to you guys because I think that it's safe to do it now. I was sworn to secrecy, but at this point in time, I think people are going to start discovering it soon. So it's actually a random spawn in the game that only occurs under certain circumstances. It has to be a full moon, and the conditions have to be just right. And a creature will actually spawn in. It's full of hair, it's full of teeth, it's absolutely massive, it has a gigantic penis, it's sort of a mutant werewolf, and it's actually called Harry Newman. It drops high-end loot, and if you see it, absolutely run. Don't let it bite you. Guys, I have no idea what the secret is. It's above my pay grade, and I'm just in the dark as you. Hopefully we'll discover it together, and hopefully tomorrow we'll know a little bit more about it. I'm really curious to see what it might be. I'm pretty sure it's not an item. I think it might be something like something that's environmental or something that does spawn in, but I certainly don't know. I looked all over the map and couldn't find anything. So if you guys know what it is, let me know. As always, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Had a lot of fun making it. Fado82, peace.